Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sleep Detective podcast. Today, I have Joseph here for a sleep breakthrough call. So we are going to talk about some of the things that he's been struggling with for his sleep, and I'm going to give my top 3 pointers of what he can do to help turn things around. So thanks for being here.
Sure. Glad to be here. Thanks for having this offer, Martha. It's great.
Yeah, awesome. Would you give a little synopsis of what's going on with your sleep right now, kind of what you're struggling with and what you've tried so far?
That's a loaded question. So I think I've been suffering with sleep issues really over the last 2+ years. I think it all kind of stem from the COVID vaccine, I think is kind of what my stem of my root is, but can't go backwards. But I don't have problems falling asleep. It's more that I wake up in the middle of the night. Historically, it's been somewhere between 3:30 and 5:30, trying to sleep at least till 6:30, 7 o'clock on good days, where I've kind of been, I think, like most of your other clients that you work with, going through dietary changes, supplements, meditation, managing stress, I've done everything and everything. I've done sleep studies. The last one I just did, an in-lab one, a more formal one, came back perfectly clean, which was great. So at least it kind of says it's not apnea or RLS. And just kind of now just kind of still struggling to wake up at the right time, and just really can't put a finger as to what the root cause is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And so it sounds like you're getting about 5 to 7 hours of sleep a night.
I'm not a terrible thing. I'm just trying to just try to optimize my sleep to hopefully be in a better place, because I just have like it's kind of like with the sleep, which I can't correlate one to the other. Some days I have good sleep, some days I have bad sleep, some days I feel good, some days I don't, but I can't correlate bad sleep to bad feelings. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Some
I've
people
never
are like that.
I could never link anything related to diet, supplements, nothing. I've never found any common root of logic to any of this on this journey.
Yeah. No, I remember trying to do that and how frustrating that is, where you have a good night's sleep and then you try and repeat everything that you did the day before the next
Yep.
day, and you don't sleep well, and it's maddening. So
Yep, correct.
yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And I work with some people who aren't getting much sleep at all, like 1-2 hours.
Right.
I was more in your boat, getting 5 to 7 hours. That was not enough for me. I did not feel good if I got 6 hours sleep, even 7 hours sleep. So, and sleep is so important. It is important that we're getting enough for our bodies. So yeah, so it's good that this is something that you're working on. And, some people I work with would be so thankful for 5 to 7 hours of sleep, but it's okay that you still want to work on that.
Right.
Because we need to work on that. We need more sleep than that.
Yep.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So, yeah, and I do want to mention, because I saw from your questionnaire, I mean, you've made a lot of changes already. Your diet looks really good, right? You're already on an anti-inflammatory diet and not eating gluten and not eating cow's milk dairy, it sounds like. And so, yeah, so like you're already doing a lot of those right things, which is also really common in the people I work with.
Right.
Like they're healthy, right? They're eating well, and you're eating exceptionally well, I will say.
Thank you.
Yeah. And exercising and doing all, the meditation, all those right things. So yeah. So you're already taking all those steps, which means that there's something more going on in your
Right.
body for sure.
Correct.
So when we talk about what that could be, I definitely see some symptoms though of gut health, and you mentioned you've kind of done a lab that is showing that that is an issue for you. So is that something that you're working on?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I would definitely recommend that. I mean, I've said before, like none of my clients have a healthy gut.
Right. No, nobody does. Right.
Right. If you have any symptoms at all, you don't. And for some people, that's 90% of the problem. For other people, it's not, it's less, but it's always a piece of the puzzle. And if you have any symptoms like loose bowels, even if it's a couple days a week, and you mentioned some symptoms of GERD or acid reflux. Is that right?
Yeah, that's one. Again, that's a stumper there too, what it is. I've kind of had on and off my entire last 20 years of my life. I think just this year the last 6 months since kind of the weather got warmer here in the Northeast, mid-Atlantic, I should say. I don't know if it's something in the outside from the environment or it's something internalized. It's just that I have like this, whatever, globus sensation of like a lump in my throat, which 9 times out of 10 will trigger like a dry cough.
Mm,
So that's kind of the same thing with the sleep. I've tried all the things that the traditional doctors did, the functional medicine doctors did, and nothing's helped.
yeah.
And sort of, I
Okay.
think the only thing I know, one other things that I've tried, it hasn't helped yet is sort of like, is it something around mold?
Yes.
Mold or histamine, which I've been on protocols for both of those, but nothing's fixed it.
Yeah. So that is my next point, is that in the assessment I sent you, you answered, you checked positive for 9 out of 13 of these symptoms for, it's called CIRS, or chronic inflammatory response syndrome, which can be from mold toxicity. It's most commonly from mold toxicity. So if anyone has at least 6 of those symptom clusters, that's likely. The fact that you're having 9 means that that is an issue going on for you, most likely. I mean, I can't diagnose this on
Right,
the podcast or even in my practice since I'm not a doctor,
right,
but I would say that's highly likely that mold is an issue for you. And that means that it could be a current exposure, like you're living in mold
right,
currently. And, with increase in humidity and warmth and things like that in the summer, that could
right.
correlate.
Proliferate. Yep.
Yeah. Or it can also be from the past. And about 25% of the population has this gene that means that they don't have an appropriate immune response to mold. And so their bodies don't break it down
Huh.
or detoxify it like it should. And so then you really need some support around that.
Uh-huh.
And that there is testing you can do for mold. I mean, first of all, you can test your home, your
Right.
office, things like that.
We've done that. Yep.
You have.
I've done it. We've done the house, the air, dust, and myself.
Okay.
I haven't done it. I haven't been retested in about 8 months, but the house is clean, knock on wood. But
Yeah.
the last time I was tested, I was fairly positive
Okay.
for, I think, 4 types.
Oh, so you did, what kind of test did you do?
What the heck was it called?
There's a
My
mycotoxin.
mycotox is the one I think I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And you had 4 show up there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then it is confirmed that that's an issue for you.
Right. Well, I mean, well, again, I don't know. I went through a fairly rigid regime, but I don't know if it got kicked it.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like it because you're still having all these symptoms, including
Right.
issues.
Yeah.
So yeah, can be complex and there's a lot of variables to it because it's going to affect liver detoxification, which was the third thing I was going to bring up for you.
Yeah.
That is an issue based on, sensitivity to chemicals, knowing that alcohol affects your sleep, like that. Those are signs that the liver isn't detoxifying properly, which makes sense because mold produces all these mycotoxins.
Right. You got to get rid of them.
Yeah. And then it tends to go hand in hand with candida, which is a yeast infection that can happen in the gut and systemically in the body. It commonly leads to gluten sensitivity. So even though you've already eliminated gluten, which is great, that's definitely one piece of it. So, so dealing with mold involves like helping your detoxification happen, helping your body clear those toxins, and then also like dealing with antifungals and because mold is a kind of fungus, so it's a lot of prongs to it. And then mold over time also affects hormones and cortisol, and we
Correct.
also see signs of all of those imbalances as well. So and it can affect blood sugar too. So even someone who's eating really well, not sleeping and having all this toxicity can affect blood sugar over time. So yeah, so I say the top 3. I would say the top 3 have
I have
gut,
more.
gut mold, and liver or detox. But I'm also seeing signs of hormones, cortisol dysregulation, possible blood sugar issues.
Right.
So this is why it's so important to be looking at this big
Got
picture.
Right.
Yeah, of what's going on. And the fastest way is going to be to look at everything at the same time, because doing one thing at a time, it just prolongs it. And then you can focus on the gut, but if your liver still isn't detoxifying, then it's hard to get rid of those toxins if you're killing off pathogens, for example.
Right.
So anyway, so that's what I would say for the top 3 for physical things. Do you have any questions about those?
No, it all kind of makes sense. It just this crazy journey. And at least for me, at least the sleep has been part of it. The other historical things, the GI issues I've kind of had on and off for like 8+ years.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think part of it all stems to our house. That's kind of hard because ideally I need to move out of the house and that's not an easy thing to do. I
Right.
think at some point we need to do that, and then hopefully then that'll at least get rid of ground zero and then really focus on the rest of it, because I don't think I'm going to ever get 100% better if I'm still in a potentially moldy house.
Yes, if you're living in mold, it is going to be really hard to get better for
Yeah,
sure.
at least because the last time I had everything tested, it was clean, and I had fixed everything. I've gotten rid of everything that physically was growing mold, the things that had moisture around them, got rid of all that, fixed our air conditioning system,
Yeah.
fixed our floor, fixed the leaks. I
So
mean, but you can go through a lot more steps. We're just,
right.
I don't want to rip my house apart, which, whatever, that's one of the other next steps.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, luckily there is also a spectrum of mold toxicity because I work with some people who are really sick from it, like
Right,
not functioning, so your body isn't reacting that badly to it. And so you
right.
very well not have it in your house anymore. It's just lingering in your body.
In
And
me, right.
yeah, exactly. So that's where you definitely want to start. And, I've had people get relief, even if they are still living in mold, from starting to take some supplements that help get rid of it
Uh-huh.
and just giving your body that boost. And for some people, that's all it
What I
takes.
need,
So,
right.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it's kind of different for everyone. And so, what I wanted to mention too is you talked about the COVID vaccine being the trigger, and that very well could be.
Uh-huh.
But it's funny because this is exactly what I talked about in my podcast that's coming out next week
Huh?
is that's the trigger, but your body was already out of balance before.
Right, right.
So that was like the final straw that brought
Right.
us
Because it
back.
really did seem a lot of it kind of started because I got the J&J vaccine just because it was the first one that came out in
Mhm.
terms of where our area, and that was what I got. And I just know
Right.
within a week or two, I just, my sleep was horrific.
Yeah.
And I got headaches. I just was not feeling well whatsoever. So it makes sense what you're saying. You're kind of, the glass gets so full and eventually, boop,
Right.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, exactly. And especially if your liver already isn't detoxing and then, dealing with mold and all of that. So that was the final straw.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're talking about gut issues for 8 years, then we know that things have been out of balance.
Right. And then
So
you would then potentially move into a house with mold. There's another layer. COVID
exactly.
vaccine, there's the other layer.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like our bodies want to stay in balance, but it gets to a
Right.
certain point where they're like, we can't handle it anymore.
You're right.
And for some of us, we get sleep issues from it. And other people with
Mhm.
toxicity sleep fine, but they're sick in other ways.
Right.
So it
Right.
definitely varies per person. Yeah. And so the only other thing I was going to mention is, I think you checked off, you're complaining to others a lot about sleep. And so that's something that I work with my clients as well is, because I think that just perpetuates this cycle
Sure. Right.
of like, I can't sleep. I'm not a good sleeper, then I'm not going to sleep that night.
Right.
And I know like I was doing the same thing. I would, wake up every morning and complain to my husband, and then I get to work and complain to my coworkers and how tired I was all the time. And it actually felt really good even before my sleep got better to just stop doing those things.
Right.
Like stop talking about
Right.
it.
Right.
And then work on stop thinking about it too. Um, but yeah, and just stop identifying as the person who this is their
That
issue.
does sleep. Right. Same as anything, sort of
Yeah.
positive approach. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
makes
Exactly.
sense. I mean, it's just more or less just it's my wife, but I try not to say too much because she's tired of hearing me saying it.
Right. Yeah.
Least
Yeah.
when
You can
I don't internalize it. I don't stress about it when I wake up. I just try to
yeah.
do the meditation, breathing exercises, and 9 times out of 10, I can fall back asleep. It's just, here I am waking up again. I really can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's what I have for you today. Anything else?
No, no, that all kind of makes sense. I just always just the question about, so I guess from your approach, when you do everything all at once, I guess you never really know what fixed what, but I guess the goal is you fixed it.
Yeah. And I see it as we're just getting the body back in balance at once. Like that's going to be the fastest way. And I see that as is the only way is like we have to restore the health of the body. And so it's really going to benefit if all this stuff is out of whack, then it's really going to benefit if we help it in all the ways that we can so that it can heal itself. I say in quotation marks.
Right.
But so that, yeah, it can get back to a state of health where you don't have symptoms and you can sleep normally and all of that. So it isn't that we don't know what's working. It's that everything had to be done at the same time for it to work.
Right. Which makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you. I appreciate all your thoughts and your efforts here.
Okay. Awesome. Have a
Yeah.
good one.
You too.
Thanks.